Tune in to Human Meme, the podcast with a plan. Serious talk, research deep, more than just a fan. A conversation rich and true that'll make you think and smile. Where wisdom meets hilarity and stays for quite a while. It's a journey through our culture in a way you've never seen. Unpack the world around us in the realm of human meme.
Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm your host, AI David Bowles, and along with our Crackbot AI research team, we will discuss this topic with you today. Slavery at the core. Dissecting the true cause and harsh realities of the American Civil War. Our focus is the Civil War, a pivotal event that reshaped the United States. There's a prevailing debate about the cause of the Civil War, with a stark division between those who assert it was primarily about states' rights and those who argue it was fundamentally about one thing: slavery. In this episode, we'll unravel this historical conundrum and explore why it's crucial to acknowledge that slavery was indeed at the heart of the Civil War. The Civil War, a term that conjures images of battlefields and brother against brother, was indeed about much more. It was a war where the fundamental and inhumane institution of slavery was at the epicenter. We will examine how slavery was not just an underlying issue, but the primary catalyst of the war, as evidenced by the declarations of secession and the candid words of key Confederate figures. Our discussion will take us beyond the simplistic narratives of states' rights. We will explore how this notion, often propagated in the post-war era, served more as a veil to obscure the grim reality of a society built on the enslavement of human beings. We'll look at the economic, social, and moral implications of slavery, and how its defense and expansion were non-negotiable for the Southern states, leading to the inevitable clash with the Union. But our exploration doesn't stop there. We will venture into the brutal tactics of the war, epitomized by Sherman's march to the sea and the burning of Atlanta. These acts, often seen as necessary military strategies, were part of the larger concept of total war. They were aimed not just at defeating Confederate forces, but at breaking the economic backbone that sustained the rebellion and, more importantly, the institution of slavery. Moreover, we will shed light on the international dimensions of the Civil War, the significant yet often overlooked role of African American soldiers, and the technological and medical advancements that emerged from this conflict. We'll also confront the enduring legacy of the war, including the contentious lost cause narrative and the cultural impact that continues to shape America. Finally, we will examine why acknowledging the centrality of slavery in the Civil War is crucial for an honest reckoning with our past, and how this understanding can inform our present and future in the quest for racial justice and equality. The Civil War, a conflict marked by its brutality and high casualty rates, witnessed several harsh tactics. These included scorched earth policies, indiscriminate shelling of cities, and harsh treatment of prisoners of war. Such measures were part of a strategy known as total war, a strategy aimed at not only defeating the enemy militarily, but also breaking their will to fight by targeting civilian infrastructure and resources. One of the most iconic examples of total war was General Sherman's March to the Sea, culminating in the burning of Atlanta in 1864. Atlanta was a crucial logistical and supply center for the Confederacy, housing railroads, warehouses, and manufacturing facilities that were vital to the Confederate war effort. Sherman's decision to burn Atlanta was strategic. He aimed to cripple the Confederacy's ability to wage war and demonstrate the futility of their cause. The burning of Atlanta was indeed brutal, and its depiction in popular culture, notably in Gone with the Wind, has often been romanticized or sensationalized. However, from a military standpoint, Sherman's campaign was a turning point. By destroying key infrastructure and resources, he significantly weakened the Confederate war machine. This act also had a profound psychological impact, not just on the Confederate leadership, but also on the Southern populace, shaking their confidence in the Confederacy's ability to prevail. The impact of such tactics extended beyond the immediate military advantages. They fundamentally changed the nature of warfare, foreshadowing the total wars of the 20th century. The Civil War, particularly through acts like the burning of Atlanta, demonstrated the devastating effectiveness of targeting not just armies, but the economic and civilian underpinnings of a nation's war effort. These actions, however, were not without moral and ethical implications. The suffering inflicted on civilians and the destruction of cities raised questions about the conduct of war and the fine line between military necessity and cruelty. The legacy of these tactics continues to be debated by historians and ethicists alike. The burning of Atlanta and similar actions during the Civil War were part of a broader strategy of total war aimed at undermining the Confederate capacity to fight and signaling the inevitability of Union victory. While militarily effective, these actions also opened up challenging questions about the nature of war and the limits of military action. As we reflect on these events, it's crucial to recognize the complexities and moral dilemmas inherent in wartime decisions and their lasting impacts on society and history. Now, let's go back a little bit and set the stage. The Civil War, fought from 1861 to 1865, was the most significant upheaval in American history. It's often painted with various brushstrokes, but if we peel back the layers, we find slavery at its core. Let's start with the evidence. The Declaration of Causes of Seceding States, where states like Georgia and Mississippi explicitly stated their reasons for secession, offers the most direct evidence. Mississippi's declaration begins unequivocally. Our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery. It doesn't get clearer than that. Georgia's declaration mentions the refusal of northern states to fulfill their constitutional obligations regarding fugitive slaves. These documents lay bare the centrality of slavery to the secessionist cause. Then we have the words of the major players themselves. Confederate Vice President Alexander Stephens, in his cornerstone speech, stated, "Our new government is founded upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition." This is a far cry from a fight merely for states' rights. The notion of states' rights, often brought up in this debate, can be misleading. Yes, states' rights were a factor, but primarily in the context of states wanting the right to maintain and expand slavery. The Southern states seceded not because they championed a high-minded constitutional principle of states' rights, but because they feared the abolition of slavery, which was the foundation of their economic and social systems. Moving forward, let's consider the major players and their roles. On one side, you had Abraham Lincoln and the Union fighting to preserve the nation. Lincoln's own views on slavery evolved over the course of the war, culminating in the Emancipation Proclamation, which shifted the war's focus explicitly to the issue of slavery. On the other side, you had Jefferson Davis and the Confederacy fighting to preserve a way of life built on the enslavement of human beings. The repercussions of this war, fought over slavery, still echo today. The lingering effects can be seen in systemic racism, the struggle for civil rights, and the persistent inequality in American society. Denying that the Civil War was about slavery is not just an academic disagreement. It's a denial of the profound injustices upon which the Confederacy was built. Those who argue the war was about states' rights often do so to soften the harsh reality of the Confederacy's foundation or to cling to a romanticized vision of the Southern cause. But history should not be about comfort. It should be about truth. The truth is that the Confederacy was established to preserve and expand an institution that treated people as property based on the color of their skin. First, let's consider the economic impact. The Southern economy was deeply entrenched in slavery. Cotton, the backbone of the South's economy, depended on the labor of enslaved people. The wealth generated from this system was immense, and its sudden disruption had lasting effects. The end of slavery meant a complete overhaul of the Southern economy, a transformation that was painful and resisted vehemently by many. This economic upheaval had social repercussions. The Reconstruction era, which followed the Civil War, saw attempts to rebuild the South and integrate freed slaves into society. However, these efforts faced severe backlash, leading to the rise of Jim Crow laws and institutionalized racism that would take another century to begin to dismantle. The scars of slavery and the Civil War didn't just fade away. They evolved, contributing to ongoing racial tensions and inequalities. Moreover, the Civil War fundamentally changed how Americans viewed their nation. Before the war, the United States was often referred to in the plural, as in, the United States are. Post-war, it became singular, the United States is. This linguistic shift reflects a profound change in the concept of the nation, from a collection of semi-independent states to a unified, indivisible entity. This shift laid the foundation for the modern American nation-state. Understanding the war as a conflict over slavery also helps us comprehend the complexities of today's political landscape. The echoes of the war influence contemporary debates over race, heritage, and identity. The controversies surrounding Confederate symbols and monuments, for instance, are directly tied to how we interpret the Civil War. Are these symbols of heritage or harbingers of hate? Your answer likely depends on how you understand the war's causes. Additionally, the Civil War's impact extends to the realm of education. How we teach this chapter of American history affects how future generations understand their country's past and its implications for the present. Efforts to downplay or rewrite the role of slavery in the Civil War risk perpetuating misunderstandings and biases that hinder our ability to address the root causes of racial injustice. The Civil War didn't just have domestic implications. It had a global dimension as well. European powers, notably Britain and France, had a keen interest in the outcome. The South's cotton was vital to European textile industries, yet these nations were also moving towards the abolition of slavery. Britain's decision not to recognize the Confederacy as a sovereign state, despite its economic interests, was a significant blow to the Southern cause. This international angle reminds us that the Civil War was not an isolated event, but part of a broader global narrative of the fight against slavery and the struggle for human rights. Another aspect often overlooked is the role of African American soldiers in the Union Army. Over 180,000 African American men served in the United States colored troops. Their participation was a profound statement of their fight for freedom and equality. The bravery and contributions of these soldiers were critical in the Union's victory, yet their stories are frequently sidelined in mainstream Civil War narratives. Furthermore, the Civil War brought about significant technological and medical advancements. It was one of the first conflicts where the telegraph played a crucial role in communication. The war also saw the advent of ironclad ships, changing naval warfare forever. On the medical front, the sheer number of casualties led to advancements in battlefield medicine and surgery, setting the stage for modern medical practices. It's also important to address the myth of the lost cause, a post-war narrative that romanticized the Confederacy and downplayed the role of slavery. This narrative propagated the idea of the noble Southern cause and the valor of Confederate soldiers while painting the Union as aggressors. The lost cause myth has been a significant factor in how the Civil War has been remembered and taught, often skewing the reality of the conflict and its causes. Lastly, let's touch upon the cultural legacy of the Civil War. The war influenced American literature, art, and cinema, shaping the nation's cultural and artistic landscape. Works like Gone with the Wind and The Red Badge of Courage have left indelible marks on American culture, each interpreting the war through different lenses and reflecting the attitudes of their times. In wrapping up, it's imperative to realize that acknowledging the centrality of slavery in the Civil War is more than an academic exercise. It's a necessary step in an honest reckoning with our history. It's about understanding the roots of racial injustice and inequality that plague our society today, and recognizing the long and arduous fight toward racial reconciliation and equity. As we close this episode, let's carry forward the lessons learned and the insights gained, remembering that our history, however complex or painful, is a critical guidepost for our future. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, we are all part of this human meme, continually evolving and striving for a deeper understanding of our shared past and a more just and equitable future. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm AI David Bowles, wishing you a safe evening and a vibrant tomorrow. Be a human meme.
Oh, yeah. Tune in to Human Meme, the podcast with a plan. Serious talk of research deep, more than just a fan. A conversation rich and true that'll make you think and smile, where wisdom meets hilarity and stays for quite a while. It's a journey through our culture in a way you've never seen. Unpack the world around us in the realm of human meme. Oh yeah.